Hey everyone's Jackel Wolf back in Sky Factory 4 with another 5 minutes. That's how I did it. Now, if you've been following along, you know that we are working our way through the advancement book. Last episode, we started on the sugar high advancement, which is to craft an Octuple Compressed Sugarcane Block, because it's really important, but because it really is not. We are now at the point where we've got a ton of advancements that are, let's collect 1 billion of this one item for no absolute purpose whatsoever. But they are advancements, and I do kind of want to show you guys how to get them in your world. So a lot of these are very passive. Let's start them up, and they'll start, churning out in the background, and at some point in the future, we will get them. So in that vein, this episode, we're going to work on the Nether Regions advancement, which is to craft an Octuple Compressed Netherrack Block, because why not? And, they are absolutely right. Why not? Why would we not want an Octuple Netherrack Block? I am sure it is going to be super, super useful in the future. But to start, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to craft ourselves some netherrack. Now, unlike the sugarcane block, which, we have to generate in the overworld, the netherrack block is a craftable block. So to make a netherrack block, it is 5 pieces of netherrack resin and 4 pieces of netherrack acorn, and that gets you a block of netherrack. Now that is absolutely perfect. That is really, really good. One thing, because we're going to be collecting a lot of them, at least initially to start, we're going to want to make sure we've got a good storage system for that. So I've got a file folder. I've got a piece of netherrack. We now have a filing folder of netherrack, and I'm going to go flip on my glitch armor so I can fly. We're going to come over here and we're going to go put it into a filing folder system. Now, I've got this hooked up to my simple storage network and my ME storage, mainly because I am still pulling all my resources from my saplings into the simple storage, and then I want to use them in my ME system, so I've got it hooked up to both there. That's mainly just I'm trying to use the best of both worlds for that. Next up, we're going to need a way to automatically make that netherrack block. To do that, we're going to go and use an autocrafter. We've used these quite a bit before, but they are super, super useful and, very simple to use once you get the hang of them. To make an autocrafter, it is 4 pieces of purple dye. There's a couple of different options you can use. Purple dye, I think, is probably the easiest to make in your world. A crafting station, a piston, a observer, and a bone block. That gets us an autocrafter, which is perfect. One thing we're going to need to make the autocrafter work really, really well is going to be a processing cable. This is going to allow a input-output into our simple storage network, which makes the whole process, quite a bit easier. So to make a processing cable, it is 4 gold nuggets, 4 storage cables, and an observer. And again, we've made these before, so I'm not going to get too far into it. But one other thing we're going to need is we're going to need a piece of netherrack, which I've actually got a couple of already, and then some netherrack resin and some netherrack in the amounts we're going to need to program the processing cable. So let's fly over here and let's go and place this. Let's place this right here for the moment. And I can move this into a better spot, but I kind of want to keep everything in the same area. Processing cable, we're going to go attach that. And then we're going to go and take the 4 netherrack acorns and the 5 netherrack resin, and then we're going to tell it to expect 1 piece of netherrack out of there. So you can see it's saying the transaction is valid. That means this is a valid recipe. It can figure out what to do with these 2 items to make the block of a netherrack, which is absolutely perfect. We do need to power this up, but before we do that, let's go and program in our actual recipe into the autocrafter. And there you go. That is the 4 netherrack acorns and the 5 netherrack resin. You can see it's already primed that in there. We'll just go pop that out for a moment. And we're going to go take one of the GPS sticks I've got. We're going to click on that and we'll head over to our power system here. And there we go. We'll throw that in. You can see it's now got power. And this should be making some netherrack. It's probably because we ended up breaking that. So let's go and refresh that. And we'll put the netherrack in and let's go grab some resin from our system here. All right, so I got 5 more pieces of resin. We're going to throw that in. There you go. Sometimes you get to, kickstart it a little bit because it'll get stuck with the one item and not the other. So we're kicking out a ton of netherrack. And if we come back over here, we can check in our ME system. We go Netherrack, and that's building up really, really quick. Now, the amount of resin I've got here, I've probably maybe got enough for 3,000 pieces of Netherrack. That's not going to be enough to get to the Octuple, and I'll be honest with you, we're not going to get to the Octuple compressed block today anyways. But there are a couple of different ways of getting Netherrack in your world. You can use the redstone amber and pour lava on it. I'm not going to do that. What I want to do is, we've got a whole dimension that's absolutely just chock full of Netherrack. I'm not going to go and mine it all myself, though. A little while back, we went and we made ourselves a digital miner. We did that to pull out a specific ore from the Twilight Dimension when we were actually, powering up our, fission reactor. We needed the fuel, so we pulled out the exact ones that we needed. I'm going to use this here, and we're going to go to the Nether and set this up so that it will mine Netherrack in the Nether and send it back over here to our overworld. So let's go. All right, so we are in the Nether, and as you can tell, the Nether is not a nice place for us to do any sort of mining ourselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a good solid chunk of Netherrack, and let's get rid of this. I haven't really got a whole lot of use for it. And why don't we come right over here? Now, the nice thing about this digital miner is it will mine upwards and downwards and to the sides. There's a good area of effect that you can use for this digital miner. So I'm just going to, mine out a little bit of a cave here. And give me a second and we'll be right back. Okay, guys, so I have mined out a little bit of a safety hole here. If I tried to do this on top, on the outside of this, Netherrack, mountain or whatever, all I'd be doing is I'd be getting swamped by mobs. So this keeps us a little bit safe from the mobs. Now, the digital miner is a multi-block. It takes up multiple spaces in your area, so make sure you got enough room for that. We do need to power it up. I've got a little bit of leftover power from before. But, we will run through that fairly quickly. So I've brought ourselves a little bit of a battery from my world. This has got a 20 million RF, stored up there. So this will last us for quite a bit. The green ports are for power, and then the yellowish ports are for exporting items. So that's something to keep in mind if you're trying to, put power in and take items out. But we're going to put the battery down there, and then we're going to go and take a power extraction cable and hook it up there. So this will feed power into my system. Next thing we need to do is we need to configure it to determine which blocks we want. So we're going to hit the configuration. These were the blocks I was pulling out before. Let's just go and delete those two, start fresh. We're going to hit a new filter, item stack. There's nothing special about these. We're going to go and put in a piece of Netherrack. That's going to be perfect. Fuzzy mode, no. Require replace, no. So we could set this up so it would take a piece of Netherrack and replace it with a piece of cobble or something like that. We don't need to worry about that. All we want to do is take the Netherrack and basically, mine it, as much of it as we can. So I'm going to hit save. Radius, let's go pump this up. If I put 99 in here, it's going to default to the maximum radius, which is 32. Same thing with the max radius here. If I put, 999, 255. So this is going to go from the bottom of the Nether all the way up to the ceiling, and then with a radius of 32. So that's going to be 64, maybe 65 blocks. I don't know if it counts the middle or not, but this is a huge, huge area of mining. So we're going to turn the visuals on. There we go. And if we come out here really quickly, we can kind of see just how much mining space is going to be covered by the miner right now. So there is a... Why does it keep disappearing? There we go. So it is a absolute, ton of mining space. I think I'm going to be so close and actually looking at where the block is. So it's going to mine up a absolute ton of redstone. Now, where is my little hidey hole here? Okay, so I managed to find my hidey hole. I threw a couple torches there so I won't lose it when I come back. But here we go. So we have now got an absolute huge area that's going to be mining. If we go and hit start, there is 130 blocks that it's going to mine, which is absolutely perfect. We do need like 42 million pieces of netherrack. So between autocrafting it in the overworld and mining it here, I think we've got a really good chance of doing that. So my next step is to get items from the nether into the overworld. To do that, what we're going to do is we're going to use a ender chest and an item extraction cable. Like I said before, the yellow ports are the export ports. So we're going to go throw that down there, and we'll go through the item extraction cable on there. And you can see it's now pulling items into the ender chest. And we can go and pull that up a little bit quicker, and that should make things a little bit better. So that is perfect. So that is going to go put stuff into the ender chest. We got to go and set up the other side to make sure it's pulling stuff through. But last thing we need to do is, we built this a couple of episodes ago. This is the Weirding Gadget, which is a chunk loader. Keeps a 5x5 chunk area loaded centered around the gadget. So this is going to keep a very huge space around this gadget loaded at all times, which is absolutely perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here, and how close can I get? Let's go and place that right there. So centered around here, there's going to be 5x5 chunks loaded at all times, even if I'm in a different dimension, which is absolutely perfect. We can check in here. So this is mining very well. And actually, let's go and see if we can't find where it is mining from. Okay guys, here we go. Here is where it is working. So you can see it's just cutting a whole slab out of this giant hillock. I don't know what you want to call it. But it's going to keep going. It's going to keep doing that until all this netherrack in that area is completely taken care of. So let's go head back off to the overworld, and we'll continue from there. Okay guys, so we are back in the overworld. We've got our ender chest. You can see it's filling up and emptying at about the same rate. So that means that weirding widget is working in the nether, keeping those chunks loaded, and it's going to be pulling these items in here. I can upgrade this at some point in the future just to speed up the amount of transfer rate, but I'm not going to bother doing that right now. Let's actually take that nether and throw it in here. Our next step is to set up something very similar to what we did with the sugarcane, which is basically to auto combine all of the different items together. To do that, we're going to need ourselves a packager. To make a packager, it is 4 blue dye, 2 crafting stations, and 2 furnaces, and that gets us our packager. Let's get our GPS marker ready because I know I'm going to need it. And let's go bring this over here just because we're keeping all these items together just for simplicity's sake. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to place the packager down and then grab ourselves the export cable. And so we can export the netherrack out of our system. I need to actually grab a piece of netherrack. So we got 3K netherrack so far. That's not too bad. We're going to go and throw that into the whitelist here. And this is going to start pulling netherrack over. We're going to need to power that up with our GPS stick here. We're going to come over to our transfer nodes, throw that in there, and this should start making us some compressed netherrack. And there you go. So we've now got 5 pieces of compressed netherrack. As it keeps importing in, it's going to be making more and more and more. What we need to do now is to grab ourselves a chest. And then what we're going to do is we're going to place the chest down. We're going to take a item extraction cable, and we're going to go and pull everything from the packager over into the chest. So we've got our compressed netherrack in there. And then we're going to go feed this back into itself. We'll take the item cable there, and we're going to need 1 piece of the compressed netherrack. And then we're going to whitelist the compressed netherrack and then feed it back into our packager here. So we'll come, that's not going to work. We're going to have to come off to the side and then down over there. Not the nicest looking system, and let's actually go and break that because we don't need that there. So this is now going to feed the compressed netherrack back into our packager, and then similar to how we did the sugarcane, we're going to go and find a bump up that transfer node, and we should have a triple compressed netherrack. Oh, sorry, we got to flip the blacklist to a whitelist. That's what we got to do. So now this is going to be pulling in the compressed netherrack. And then we should be getting some double compressed netherrack. So we'll take a piece of that and we're going to throw that up there. And yeah, and then as soon as we get up enough double compressed netherrack, it'll turn into triple compressed netherrack, and so on and so forth. And, you know, basically this will, you know, level up all the way up to that octuple. So I think that's going to be it for this one, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Leave me a note in the comments below if you did any of these, you know, advancements any differently than I did, especially with the netherrack. If there's another way of getting it, or maybe even a better way of getting it, let me know in the comments below. But that is it. If you enjoyed this video, please think about leaving a like and a subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at JackelWolf. Also, check out the description below. There will be a link to my Discord page. I would love it if you guys stop by to say hi. As well, there will be a link to my Patreon page. If you enjoy this channel, if you enjoy this content and you want to support, stop by, check it out. There are a lot of great perks for all of my supporters out there. But that is it. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.